right, it's planning board, February 13th. We have a public hearing for our articles for town meeting. So bear with me, I have a little bit to read here. The planning board will hold a public hearing pursuant to the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 5, on Wednesday, February 13th, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall, 663 Main Street, Bolton, to consider and receive comments from interested parties concerning the zoning articles to appear on the warrant of the annual town meeting, which will be held on Monday, May 6, 2019. The articles are summarized as follows. Amendment to Bolton, Massachusetts Town Base Map and Zoning Map dated September 2016 to amend zoning district boundary lines associated with industrial business and limited business. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-12, to add warehouse as a use in the schedule of permitted uses under the industrial zoning district by special permit from the planning board. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-13.c, to allow more than one principal building on a lot for commercial uses identified in Bolton's schedule of permitted uses requiring a special permit from the planning board. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-17, to add the environmental impact on wetlands from the overall project development as a planning board criteria when deciding whether to grant a special permit for a common driveway. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-18, to add a temporary political signs bylaw. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-23, to add stormwater requirements to business, commercial, and industrial regulations. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-23.2, to eliminate the business zoned portion of parcel 4D-71 from the mixed-use village overlay district. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaws, section 250-28, to amend the definition for base map as well as add definitions for warehouse, light manufacturing, and research and development laboratories. And that's it. All right. So we'll just go through these. I'll give a quick summary, see if the board has anything to say, and then take any questions from the audience. So the first article is the zoning bylaw to amend one building per lot for businesses. Is this in the same order that I just read, or does it matter?
It's not in the same order.
Yeah, doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. So the first one is zoning bylaw to amend one building per lot for businesses, limited businesses, and industrial uses. So in non-residential lots, currently there's only one building allowed per lot. So ultimately what you end up is kind of like a strip mall type building. What we intend with this bylaw is to have, multiple pads. Still, they can only add up to the coverage that's allowed for the floor plan. But a developer would be able to split it up into multiple buildings and create a more village feel to the development. Yeah. Anything, Todd? Any questions? Okay. So we have to vote.
With multiple buildings, would there be a limit to the number of buildings?
Nope.
It's by special permit, so we'd be reviewing,
Yeah.
we'd be reviewing it, and the selectmen would be reviewing it. But instead of getting, instead of one building that's, one big long strip mall, you could have several different buildings with one or two businesses in each one. So which would be hopefully more aesthetically pleasing than just a strip mall would be.
Yeah, and every one of these developments is a special permit, as you said, so it would be, there'd be a public hearing, an announcement, and we'd be able to attend. So what do we have to vote our recommendation?
Let's wait until we close the hearing, so we'll go through all of them, close the hearing, and then
Vote them individually?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do it individually or all together, depending on how it plays out.
Okay, all right. Okay, Article 2, although this won't be the numbering in the town meeting, in the warrant, but that's how we have them numbered here. So amendment to Bolton's town base map and zoning map. So this one is, okay, so this bylaw is, there's a bunch of business parcels in town that when the business zone was created, for instance, southeast corner of 495 and 117, this is kind of so many feet from 117 and so many feet from 495. So a business lot like the gas station, the business zone goes right through the middle of that lot. So if they want to redevelop that lot, if they want to redo the building, they can't because part of it's residential, part of it's business, even though it is currently business. So what we intend to do is have the business zone follow the lot line. So if it's a business lot, we're snapping the business zone to the edge of the lot, and vice versa. If it's a residential lot that has like the business zone on it, then we're just turning it back into residential. So in the opposite case, Bolton Woods Way currently has a big portion of Bolton Woods Way, even though it's residential, as industrial. So we're making that residential. So we're cleaning it up on both ends.
So we're more aligning the zoning with
The use of
with the actual lot lines, as opposed to just, when it was originally done, just drawing some boxes and said, commercial here somehow or another.
Exactly.
So,
All right, good question as far as that goes. I'm up in Bolton Woods Way.
Yep.
I'm a licensed electrician. As it stands, I believe I could open up my own business up there, correct? It's an industrial zone.
It is an industrial zone.
Yes, 58 Bolton Woods Way is industrial, as well as residential. Now, I could open up a small personal business in there, correct? As it stands right
You can still do
now.
an in-home business.
So you're allowed to do a home occupation, you would just need to submit a form of intent with our building inspector, we would review it, and if you meet the criteria for home occupation, you could do it that way. As far as doing a full-fledged business, no, you could not, because Bolton does not allow for mixed uses. Right now, the primary use of your property is residential,
Mhm.
so you couldn't do residential and, electrical company business all within one lot.
No, that's not good.
Right, right.
So that's what I was intending on doing. I'm planning on retiring here shortly and opening up my own business. And where it was industrial zone, that's what my intent was to work out of my house from here on.
Which parcel do you use?
58.
58?
Well, you could go down the hill to those two big buildings and,
Yeah. They're available, they're for sale.
Yeah, exactly. Problem is, I don't make that kind of money.
Well, you could definitely do an in-home business for sure, you know. But I don't know.
that's residential.
What kind of business would you,
Electrical,
but what?
I'm an electrician.
Yeah, but
Industrial, I do industrial wiring. I'd be myself and probably a helper going out to different job sites.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't be doing the business,
My-
people wouldn't be
no.
coming to your house.
No. I can't bring a machine to my house.
Yeah.
No, I can bring the control boxes from my house to the machine, so.
I mean,
So that type of business would likely qualify for home occupation then? I mean, we would be happy to review it now, even though you're not actually gonna be implementing it anytime soon. We'd be
Right.
happy to review it, but it sounds like that would probably be a home occupation.
Uh,
As long as you're, well, the one qualifying factor to do a home occupation though, it has to be, owner occupied. So that.
I'm there.
Okay. In case you were deciding to move out and
No,
then.
All right.
you can even have an employee, right?
You can have, you can have up to 4, I believe,
Yeah.
4 people, and I think 1 or 2 of them have to be residents of the home, but up to 4.
I mean, there's several in town.
there's a lot of contractors and stuff in town, and
Right, I
there
just
may be
didn't,
some restrictions
I didn't want
on-
this
Yeah, no,
zoning
no,
trade
no,
to,
This isn't gonna
This wouldn't,
impact
this
you.
wouldn't impact you.
right. As long as it doesn't impact me, let's continue then.
Hey, Eric, Jonathan Keep, 752 Main Street. And so, the article we're talking about relates to the maps.
Yep.
Yep.
So I just wondered if we could go through those.
Yeah, okay.
So, on the first one, which is the area we're discussing,
Yep.
so the pink is the existing
Correct.
zoning.
Yes.
And the red is what you're
Gonna change it.
limit.
We're snapping it to.
Yeah.
down to. Okay,
So as you can see, that takes out Bolton Woods Way and a couple
Yeah.
of properties behind.
okay. So then, at 495, at the Kane property,
Yep,
I see the gas station on the right that's half.
yep,
It is
that's
half.
dash 28.
Okay, and then, so you're, what's that, 13.2 acres of the Kane property, you're turning that into business?
Yep,
Okay.
the mixed-use village overlay.
And also, we're off of 2D71, we're cutting a chunk of that out of business and putting it
Yeah, I mean,
in
it
residential.
doesn't
so-
seem equal, but.
Well, it's not meant to, I mean, it's not necessarily a square foot to square foot transfer. It's, I mean, the goal is to rationalize the zoning with the lot lines.
I mean, that's a business zone parcel, so, I mean, yeah, I understand we're adding more business zone to it, but, you know,
So-
that's a prime business zone area, so why not?
So-
But we're taking away a bunch of industrial,
Yeah.
so, you know,
From, what, Bolton Woods Way?
yeah.
That's,
I mean, it's the same, you know, I mean, it's the same zoning, you know, we're not adding industrial elsewhere to even it out.
okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing, I mean, because the Kane property, 4D-33, is the perfect location for us to get some business in town, so why wouldn't you want to clean it up and have more buildable?
So the 3 lots between the gas station and the 2, is it 2 Kane parcels?
So, for 61, I believe, is the country covered, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
And then 29 is the White House that was burned down.
Yeah.
Okay,
30 is,
That's Kane.
that's
Kane.
Kane, okay.
And then 34 is that one little, the house that's tucked back.
But it's
Yeah.
owned by Kane as well.
Is it okay?
Okay.
so on the next page,
So the next page, you're taking Craftsman Farms out of the,
That's
Yep.
the little shop.
yep, Craftsman's out of it,
and then you're adding,
Bolton Capital is getting some extra.
so how much is going from residential at Bolton Capital to business?
I think right now it's 4 and 12, and then it'll be it'll be the whole lot.
How is limited business different than business?
The only difference is that office space in limited business is not as of right. You have to have a special permit to do that. For business, it would be allowed by right. That's the only difference.
And then lastly, the Forbush Road, so the extension there by Dagnos is, where is the liquor store building in relationship to that line?
I think it's in it.
It's in it.
It's in it.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah, I think it's like
Okay.
somewhere like right here.
Okay, great.
Did we clear up with it seemed like Frank Giotto is kind of,
Frank's
But-
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
say
Yeah,
that.
we worked out a bunch of logistics with Mike, so, you know, I had a lot of unanswered questions, so we got that all worked out.
because I know we talked and you were unsure if you wanted to include it or
Yeah, and
not.
once I talked to Mike, you know, we figured out the parameters and seemed to be good to go.
Okay,
So,
so you're good. And I think, how are we gonna work, because this lot line isn't exactly right to what he has on the registry of deeds?
Yeah, we'll work with that.
Yeah.
Assessors, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
And the only other, I just wanted to let the board know, the only other business that we hadn't heard from was Colonial Candies, and I did reach out to them today, and I had a good conversation with Mr. Beaver, and he's fully on board
Okay.
with that.
Okay.
yeah. If you could.
We have a question. Yes.
Just a clarification on the, I think it's the second map, that shows the Kane property.
Yep.
The kind of that swath that is currently shown, and then you've got the big red is the new shown. That current swath is the multi-use village overlay as well, correct?
Yep.
So is the proposal to extend the rules and restrictions or things that apply to the multi-use village overlay into that new area as well, or does that stay?
Well, so the mixed-use village overlay is its kind of own thing, so when you're talking about that particular bylaw, it still stands on its own. This,
We were gonna amend that to.
we're just amending it, I think, to take out this little,
Yeah, so the overlay,
Yeah.
it's not shown as a block, it calls out specific parcels that's
Yeah.
included in the
Yeah.
overlay.
Oh, so then it would be to the lot.
So it's all, it's
It already
always
defines it as the lot
yeah,
line.
it's always
Okay.
been to the lot line. The only difference now is that, the portion of 4071 that's currently zoned business,
Yeah.
that's gonna be, well, if it gets voted to be approved, if it gets reverted to residential, that will be taken out.
yeah. Oh, that was included in the overlay.
Yeah.
So how would that work if, for example, if there was development, because as you mentioned, the Kane property that's kind of ripe for development there. In that the property itself is maintaining, I guess its overlay status with this change. Nothing's changing with that, does
So
it enable
we're
them
changing
to
the
do
ba-
more? I
We're
guess?
changing the base zone, so the base zoning is, as it shows here, with this like, kinda, with this
Right.
block of business and then residential surrounding it. So we're just snapping the business zone to their lot line, so that's the base zoning. On top of the base zoning is the mixed-use village overlay, if they choose to use it. And the mixed-use village overlay allows a little bit more density, because it requires a mix of business and residential.
And it takes into consideration things like the square footage of the lot, and it compares how much, like impervious surface you can have and things like
Yeah,
that.
but so does the regular business zone, yeah.
Right, so I guess my point is because you're snapping it back, were the calculations done for what is allowed to happen on that property under the mixed-use village overlay? Do they remain the same with the square footage changing on
Nothing's changing with the
the
village overlay.
residential?
When-
In other
when-
words, were there like two equations for this
No,
property?
No,
because
no,
it
it's
was
one
split?
equation, but it does simplify things if they want to put some businesses further back.
Okay,
You know, they have now, that's now business, and it avoids some of the, trying to go through contortions to try to keep, you know, how does mixed use and business zoning
Right,
interact
right,
and all that sort of thing.
exactly.
So by keeping it solely, you know, one set of zoning, it simplifies everything.
But under-
But the calculations for what they could build under mixed use, you know, is based on the square footage of the lot.
okay.
So that wouldn't change.
As its square footage, whether it's multi-use or residential or business?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think also, Eric, it's just important to note that if this change is approved, this is gonna give developers flexibility to lay out a better development. It really will, because right now, if they wanted to do a business use on that property, they'd have to stay within this little boxed area. Now, if this whole thing is business, they can lay it out more appropriately. They could potentially do, you know, more parking in the back, they could, you know, it gives them more options. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and this is, of all the properties in town, this is the property that we want to give developers every possibility to develop it, because it's the one area in town.
Something's gonna
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. The intent of this is really just to clean it up, because it doesn't make sense, the business zone doesn't make sense as it lays out now, since it's just randomly over different properties, half on properties, half on others, it just doesn't make sense, so. The intent was to clean it up and make it make sense, and potentially give some business lots the better ability to develop it.
I have a question about the first map, abutting Bolton Road. Some of the land in there that's proposed excluded from the industrial is conservation land now. Is there a special designation for that? How would that be zoned?
Which lot, you said?
Oh, 5E91 is conservation land. I think 5E87 might be
This,
that little strip
I see.
between Stowe and the industrial district proposed line.
Well, I mean, if there's a conservation restriction, it doesn't matter what the zone
Yeah,
is, you
that-
can't develop on it.
It has its own requirements, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know
It's-
if
it's
it
not
had its
gonna
own
matter.
zoning. If
Well,
it's-
conservation restrictions kind of go on top of any zone, so if there's a conservation restriction on the land, then you can't develop it no matter what the zone is.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, good with that one? Any more questions? All right. Next up, we got,
See if we want to leave.
so just terms defined to amend definition of base map. This bylaw amendment serves to update the definition of base map terms. So this is just.
kind of a routine update, we do it it's done every,
Is it for these articles, these lots in particular, or is it just to
The-
refresh the base map?
Well, really, it's,
we're
if
changing
the
that.
previous article passes,
Yeah.
then we need to update the zoning map.
Okay,
So this allows us to update the definition of base map
okay.
in the bylaw. Which this may, to be honest with you, may get tweaked because Rebecca Longwell, our conservation agent, and I are talking about doing these updates in-house now through GIS versus through, previously we were going to do determine those and doing it in AutoCAD. So we may simplify that process and bring it in-house. So if we
Okay.
do, then that language is gonna have to change a little bit. So that's something we're gonna be working on in the
Okay.
next couple of weeks.
So next up is zoning bylaw to amend the location of the mixed-use village overlay. So this is just as we were talking. Because the mixed-use village overlay had just that little tiny piece of 71 included, we're just taking that little spot out. So-
And just one other little edit to that too is, once we take that small portion out, the zones will no longer be business, limited business, and residential, it'll just be business and limited business.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's just a cleanup. Scheduled permitted uses. So, we had a potential applicant in the industrial zone who wanted to do a self-storage warehouse, which we thought was a good use for the industrial zone and low impact to the town. But our table of uses doesn't really include it. They have a bulk storage, which is kind of for like outdoor equipment, yeah, outdoor type equipment, but not like an indoor self-storage. So we added warehouse.
well, there's an amended version of it in the packet. Oh,
This is,
That
Yeah.
was, a discussion point that I wanted to talk to the board about.
Oh,
We're
okay.
reviewing numerous other town bylaws. I've never seen it where they've included the warehouse and self-storage facilities together.
okay,
And technically, if you look at the definition that we're proposing for the warehouse, it doesn't really fall, the self-storage facilities don't really fall under that definition, so I recommend that we separate them out.
mhm.
And it also
And a
means
schedule.
that
You also put a,
self-storage is, you know,
As a
that
right?
somebody coming in with a, wanting a warehouse for, you know, UPS wanting to put in a, you know, a storage, you know.
so did you change the definition of warehouse?
So in that, in the red line version, which I
Oh,
don't
you
have
put a
copies for the
separate
audience, I
stuff,
just
okay.
gave it to the board, there's another, I added the definition to the other article.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, totally.
You should probably leave it as special permit, not a yes, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, did I put yes?
You did
Yeah.
put
You did
yes.
say yes,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that was, that's supposed to be SB.
Yeah.
Aaron, did you want to read the definition for self-storage facilities, since that's new to everyone?
Yeah, so we're adding, so it looks like we're gonna add warehouse and self-storage facilities, only allowed in industrial zone
By special permit.
by special permit. The definition for self-storage being a building consisting of individual, small, self-contained units that are leased or owned for the storage of business and household goods, automobiles, boats, or contractor supplies. And then the warehouse definition is a building is primarily for the enclosed storage of goods and materials for distribution, but not for sale on the premises. excluding many or self-storage facilities, support facilities such as office and administrative included. So yeah, I mean, we thought that the lowest impact use of the industrial zone would be a self-storage or a warehouse, so we wanted to add that to the table of uses, to clean it up. Any comments from the board on that? Jonathan?
Eric, what parcel were they interested in building that on?
Cobham, actually,
So within the existing structure?
within the existing structure.
They're very interested in doing that. I actually got a call back from that broker
Mhm.
asking if we were putting, bringing it forward. and he was
Oh,
very-
to town meeting?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very excited about that.
So they-
That's
they've
a real
been-
Both
possibility.
structures or just the bigger one?
Both is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, so they wanted to have like a temperature-controlled indoor facility that they can use. So it'd be great, you get the taxes and you don't have,
Huge amount of traffic.
huge amount of traffic or, commotion. It's just
Noise.
Noise, nothing,
Yeah, I mean, it's really low impact.
yeah, so it's a good use of the land.
Right.
Nothing else to say on that.
Would they be wanting to add other buildings in addition to what's there now?
So currently, what are their coverages? The small building's like 30-something%, right? On that lot, I think the big one is like less, so
I
that.
wanna say the second, and this is just, I think it's 15%, but I
Yeah,
could be
so
wrong.
they could add, there's coverage, space to
I
add.
could go back and look at those numbers when we did that last year.
Mhm.
Last year, we expanded some of the amount of coverage that they can have, but also added in some other buffer areas and things that they need to adhere to.
Mhm.
So
Right,
they would fall under that, and, if it's successful and they expand, then good, that helps the tax base.
yeah, so we allowed industrial to go, and it was voted on by the town to go up to 30%, but also we added what was the percentage of open space, I forget?
33?
33% of the industrial lot needs to be open space, and the intent
there's
of,
also a buffer.
right, the intent of that is to buffer the area residentials. So they could add space, but they'll also have to have, an open space isn't, a lawn cleared and maintained, it's untouched trees. It's pretty much conservation land, right, ultimately. There's a
That's
conservation
right.
restriction.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't clear the land, right?
I think we asked for the open space, that they actually put it in a conservation restriction. Yeah, I think go back and look, but
I think we did.
that we did last time.
Okay.
I think you covered Article 6 as well.
So the next article is the definitions for light manufacturing, research and development norms. So we didn't have a definition for light manufacturing. So we added it, being the fabrication, processing, packaging, or assembly operations employing only electric or other substantially noiseless and inoffensive motor power utilizing hand labor or quiet machinery and processes and free from neighborhood disturbing agents such as odors, gas, fumes, smoke, cinders, refuse matter, electromagnetic radiation, heat, or vibration, provided that there is no outside storage of materials or finished goods. Research and development laboratories definition is research and development laboratories in the fields of biotechnology, medical, pharmaceutical, physical, environmental, biological, and behavioral science, as well as software and electronic design wholly within an enclosed building. And then we already talked about warehouse, and we already talked about self-storage. So we have always allowed research and development labs and light manufacturing, but we never had kind of a definition, so.
Which is something you should definitely have.
Yeah.
Because how can you determine a use if you don't have a definition for it?
Right. So, open to any questions on those definitions. Okay. Business, commercial, industrial, I commend, so design review criteria. This is,
This is Danielle's.
oh, this is Danielle's. So the basic, Danielle could really advance what I'm gonna say, but pretty much it doesn't allow anything to escape downstream that wasn't there before the development, right?
Well, I think what we, in our bylaw, we didn't actually call out that it needed to meet the 10 state stormwater standards. So that was while we asked for it, it was
Yeah.
never actually written in the bylaw. So we
Okay.
wanted to button that up, because that's something we consistently ask for. But in addition to that, there were 2 other conservative measures that we were just adding in to use the most recent rainfall data, as well as to meet peak volumes, not just peak rates.
Right. So, yeah, so pretty much we're not adding anything downstream that wasn't there before.
Exactly, basically, they're required to mitigate it on-site to make sure not only the rate of it leaving the site matches existing conditions, but the amount of water that would leave the site matches existing conditions. So it really kind of enforces that no downstream flooding.
And we've seen with a lot of developments currently in town that there's a lot of water issues, different residential developments. Although this is just business, right?
This is.
Just non-residential.
Commercial, industrial, and business.
This is, yes, but we do have a subsequent article for common driveways, so.
Yeah, sure. Anybody? Questions?
Just a point of clarification, so the article, as it stands right now, Article 8, is only applicable to properties that were, what did you say, business, limited business?
Non-residential.
Anything
Oh,
non-residential,
non-residential.
anything non-residential.
Yeah, it's Article 7.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Right, yep, sorry, I'm on. Thank you,
But we do address residential in the next one.
got it.
So how are these issues addressed in large developments?
What do you mean, like,
Subdivisions?
Yeah, subdivisions.
That's all part of the subdivision rules and regs,
Yeah,
right?
so in our rules and regulations, we require that they meet the Mass DEP stormwater standards. Something that we may want to consider updating though is that we don't use that NOAA rainfall data, nor do we require to hold back the
Yeah, so-
volume.
so
So those
we
are 2
should-
things that we should look at for subdivision.
yeah, just to be consistent.
Yeah,
But those are
Those are
rules and regs.
those are rules and
So,
regulations.
so we can
Yeah.
hold
We
a
can
separate
hold a
hearing.
public
and-
hearing for
and-
that, yeah. Just like we did for the common driveway.
And based on what's been going on in some subdivisions, we probably should.
Just in terms of climate change, I think it's really important that we start planning for,
More rain.
Yeah.
flooding.
It's here.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay, that's that. Next is for common driveways. We're currently, the wording of the common driveway bylaw is the impact is only the actual driveway, but we're adding from overall project development, so, you know, all the area that's developed for the housing units, you know, driveways to the common driveway, everything's gonna be included in our determining stormwater issues.
Or permitting the common driveway
Right.
itself, so.
Right, we wouldn't, you know, like, we had an applicant who wanted us to, you know, even though there were potential water issues, to just permit the common driveway, because that's all our bylaw kind of mentioned was the actual driveway,
Well,
not,
it was ambiguous. There
It was-
was such a difference in
yeah.
opinion.
I think it's, yeah,
Let's put it that
it was
way.
vague.
So this clarifies that we're allowed
This
to
is
look
just
at
clarify
the
the statement.
overall.
overall scope of the
Yeah.
project, not just.
And it's
the
not
impact
just
of the
stormwater,
driveway.
it's whatever, you know, could be, there could be wetlands on site, I mean, there could be
Yeah,
a
it's-
floodplain, I mean, it was to look at all of the things that could
Yeah.
potentially be on site.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in your packet is an email from Rebecca Longo. She had reviewed this for me. And she did have some good recommendations, so I think that we should have some discussion about it.
Okay. So she says, just some thoughts after a second look. I think if you are specifying how the wetlands are defined in the local bylaw, it needs to also note the Wetlands Protection Act. The bylaw is more stringent, but is filling in the gaps of the WPA. Do you know?
Wetlands
Essentially,
Protection
she's-
Act.
yeah.
That's the state regulation,
Yeah.
so that governs the wetlands.
Therefore, I think there may be some holes just with the bylaw. This may be a nitpicky comment, but I think it is good to be clear or just keep it general than lean on the summary.
So you could say as defined in the Wetlands Protection Act and Bolton's Wetlands
Exactly.
bylaw, so just
That's
add
exactly what I
that.
have written here, yeah.
And then also, so add the language of overall project development to the end of the environmental impact line, inclusive of stormwater, driveway, grading structures, et cetera.
So this is a good point, what do we mean by project development? So maybe we should add a second sentence saying something like, project development shall refer to the common driveway, dwelling structures, grading, utilities, stormwater, and land clearing. I think
Okay.
that kind of covers everything, and in
Yep.
that way, there's no.
Among others, just as a catch-all, just,
And then she put et cetera.
yeah, et cetera,
Well,
et cetera, or,
Would you like
you
me to
know,
put et cetera?
including but not
I
limited
can't imagine
to
there
whatever.
being anything else, but.
I'm just-
You never know.
So wait, what is, I guess, am I missing, what is she trying to get to at this point?
Just
to be
define what
clear,
project
Just to
development is.
clarify what project development, what that encompasses. What is that?
Wouldn't it just include everything within the limit of work?
We could say it that way too.
I mean, that
Yeah,
way
you
you
say it that way.
don't have to call out.
Okay.
I would just say within the area of the limit of work. Or
Okay,
you,
so-
or you could say limit of disturbance. I don't know.
So the environmental
Either way.
impact on wetlands and water resource areas as defined in the Wetlands Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, from the overall project development within the area of the limit of work.
Or you just say within the limit of work area.
Within.
Limit of work area.
Okay.
Because we certainly wouldn't want to look at a whole parcel if they're only doing.
That's a
a
good
s-
point.
You know, a small portion right here. I mean, that's all we're trying to focus on.
The electrical code calls that the scope of the project.
There you go,
Right.
same thing.
You might want to get with the fire department on this stuff, because they now encompass a lot more regulation on driveways and common drives that would factor into all these calculations.
Well, they review all the common driveway plans for turnoffs and turnarounds and stuff. They make
Well,
sure
I
that it's
mean-
good for their equipment.
I mean, it says when deciding whether or not to grant a special permit, the planning board should consider, I mean, we could add a sixth bullet, you know, as approved.
I think it was,
Well,
By
I mean,
the fire
I
department?
think that kind of falls under the safety of
It
the
does.
common driveway. Kind of fall, it would where it
Safety
be where we
issue,
would,
yeah.
factors into the design heavily, because I think it was, within the last 2 or 3 years, Mass has adopted the national reg on driveways, common drives, which is the width, the turnaround, it has to be within 50 feet of the house. There's a lot of pertinent info
I
that
think
has
I've
to
had
get.
conversations with the previous chief about that, about those changes, and
Mhm.
I think it has a lot to do with the interpretation of the code, and at that point, we were kind of, I can talk to the new chief about it and see how he wants to handle that. So.
I mean, we could do that in special, I don't know, public hearing, not town meeting.
I mean, right now,
Oh,
in order
certainly
to-
that could be added to the regulations, and I think, like Danielle said, I think we're covered, because we're talking about the safety of the common driveway, and I think that's where that, I mean, you're always gonna defer to the fire department, I mean, we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
have quite a
if-
bit of authority, so.
I'm not gonna rule if it's safe or not. I'm just
Right,
saying, that's for
right.
sure.
Okay. Sign regulations, temporary political signs. So this came from the town secretary, just because she had a bunch of questions coming into her, what was and wasn't allowed. So basically, we just say that signs, they can't be up for more than 60 days prior to the date of the election, and, what is it,
10 days after.
10 days after the election. The reason why 60 is to go from the primary to the general.
So
So,
Ted Kirchner was nice enough to actually count the days for us. It's actually 63.
Well,
Oh.
yeah,
So-
but if you've got it up for the primary, then you've got 10 days to take it down, and that overlaps into the 60
60.
before the,
Yeah, that's
before
true,
the
yeah.
election.
60
I
before
mean,
the
we
election.
could split it out as 60 before the primary and 75 before the general.
I think the 10 after the
Yeah.
10 after the primary and the 60 before the general, I think should cover it.
You think so? Or should we just change it to 65 and be done with it? It's up to you guys.
I don't care.
No?
Whatever, I don't,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's fine, whatever.
Does anyone have any comments on that, or?
I don't care. I think we're fine.
Yeah.
So keep it at 60?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just saying that they need to be on private property, not public. And if for whatever reason a sign is taken because it violates the time that it's up, or that it was put on public property, they'll be stored at the DPW for 10 days for the people to recover. And they need to be in a safe location. So, nothing too onerous.
And then Kirchner also had a good question about whether or not the board wanted to discuss the size of the sign.
No,
No, okay.
dude, I don't. Any questions on that? No? Great. Is that it?
That's it.
Now we need a motion to close the hearing.
Well, before we close, are there any final questions? No?
I have one, silly one, I think, maybe, on your sign, temporary signs.
Yep.
It says that you can't put up a sold sign,
Put up a what sign?
a sold,
That's been on the books for a long time.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't,
that's
we
not
didn't,
something new.
we didn't understand that.
You can do sale pending forever, but you can't put sold.
Right.
Because
I don't
once it's
understand
sold,
that.
it becomes advertising for the realtor company. That's what I was always told.
Hmm.
'Cause I asked the question, because I always wondered why, and that's what I was told. Not that
Yeah.
I'm not a realtor, but.
So the only reason I'm even including that section is the fact that I needed to update the section, the title of the section now.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
see,
okay.
So
got
it,
that.
it could create some confusion at town meeting, but that's the only reason why it's in there, is because initially, right now it's called temporary signs, but technically we're adding a temporary political sign, so rather than keep it temporary signs, I'm entitling it other temporary signs,
Yep.
so.
Alright.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, so can you just go through the edits to make sure that I'm understanding everything that we're gonna be editing?
So it was just,
So I'm changing warehouse to be warehouse and self-storage.
Yeah.
yep,
And
yes to
changing,
special permit.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, special permit.
yeah.
and then just the common driveway edits,
Yeah.
that's it?
Yep.
Okay. Did we, under research and development laboratories definition, we put like, all the,
Yes, you had asked for the software and electronic.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
but what I was gonna say is, under light manufacturing, you kind of define what it is, but then you talk about, free from neighborhood disturbing agents such as odors, gas fumes, etc. Should that carry over to the R&D laboratories definition too, or? I don't know. Just kind of like defining the impact of it or not, I don't know. I mean, why would we have it in one and not the other?
From light manufacturing to R&D,
Yeah,
different purposes.
I mean, in general, if there's neighbor
That-
impact, then that would, you know,
yeah.
that falls under other regulations, doesn't it? And if somebody had was impacting, emitting odors that impacted the neighbors, that would fall, there's other regulations for that, aren't there?
I mean, that's all part of the special permit process anyway, and in the special permit process, we specifically list those things
Yeah.
as something we'll review, so it's kind of
That's
redundant
true. It is,
anyway.
I agree.
Yeah, why would you put it for every definition then, right?
Yeah.
Warehouse.
But, yeah,
At some
I think in the
point,
case
that's
of
fine.
manufacturing, you're kind of
Yeah.
setting the scope of what,
Yeah,
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 exactly.
what would even be
it's in the
considered.
special permit process
So-
anyway, so.
And then I just would also like flexibility in the definition of the base map in case we do it in-house.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Okay. So should we,
So can we make a motion for all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the articles as,
Oh, I'm sorry, did we close the hearing?
Yes, I
I
closed-
I
I closed it.
apologize, I forgot
Yep.
to write it down.
I close it, yeah.
Okay. and
Close
then
it, I
you second
seconded.
that?
Yep.
Is this the order that it's gonna show up on town meeting, or could that potentially change even?
That's what I've submitted to Linda, so, do you not like that order? We can change it however you like.
It's okay. Just thinking like,
The only thing I might change would be to swap 3 and 4. So change the mixed use overlay and then approve the base map
Okay,
changes.
we can do that.
3 and 4.
Have, do the definition at the end of those two.
And then hopefully I'll have the updated zoning map for you to review at the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't know, I would lead with 7 and, or, yeah, why not lead with 7 and 8?
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
show them we care.
Burying the lead though.
Very lead.
I guess that could be.
Is it
It's
bad?
priming.
It's numbing the audience to the planning board.
I don't think that's a bad idea, actually.
Doesn't matter to me.
That's right, I
It's,
don't,
I mean, it's up to you guys, obviously, but I mean,
Well,
That's
you might as well go 7, 8, 9.
9 you can leave for the end.
leave 9
It's a little, the nice little tile,
Yeah,
it's a
it's-
sandwich, it's a nice
Yeah.
sandwich. I agree.
Palate cleanser, you go back to other things.
alright.
So then we have what?
7 and 8 become 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then 3 and 4 would be what? Multiple building, then the lot lines, and then, you said you swapped 3 and 4?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do just,
yeah.
for,
Then the mixed use and the base map.
yep,
So 3 becomes 5, 4
Yep.
becomes 6.
yep,
Alright,
and then go rest of the,
got it.
And then the definitions come after that. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
we're slipping only 9 articles this year.
I know,
They should go fairly fast.
I
Should.
hope so. You know, it'll be interesting to see how the zoning district line change goes.
Yeah.
And literally, I feel like I've notified everyone that could potentially care about this, but you never know.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning board articles for town meeting 2019 as amended during tonight's hearing.
Now, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Look at that.
Somewhat, huh?
Right on time.
Exactly on time.
Mark, did you second that? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, do we have Antonio and Marie Cavallo here?
I'm here on their behalf.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Come on
Bob?
up. Yeah.
Yep. Good evening, my name is Seth Donahoe, I'm with Ducharme Billets. And we prepared a A&R plan in Form A for 90 Anymore Road. And what we're doing is just creating some small parcels which will be conveyed to neighbors. The remaining land of 90 Anymore Road will conform to all the zoning setbacks, shape factor, minimum frontage, and minimum area requirements.
Do you have a view of the overall?
Sure can. I think this is the original. Inside.
This is the,
And just for the record, I did check, I'm not in a butter.
You're not?
I'm not, no.
Seems like you're in a butter to everybody.
It's not just up in
They
that
live
area.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is the existing house at number 90, and their land goes all the way back, and it encompasses this large area here.
Mhm.
These lots were previously developed, and so we'll be creating a small parcel right here, labeled parcel A, and then parcel B is the remainder or the tail of the land. My understanding is parcel A will be conveyed to this owner, and parcel B will be conveyed to this owner. And the remaining land of 90 Anymore Road is right there.
So is this just a tax purpose or?
I don't know, I think at one time it was thought that perhaps this could be another building lot,
Yep,
and they decided not to pursue that.
okay.
So now they're just neighborly conveying land to each other to kind of get out of each other's backyards.
So the frontage is here.
You have, oh, I'm sorry, you are
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
yeah. So you have the 163 there.
163?
So.
Oh, I'm sorry,
so-
total
so-
frontage, 250.01, so they have all the short legs here.
Oh,
to
okay.
get them around.
Oh, okay.
Lot 2 and Lot 3 were permitted as or as backland lots back in 1999. I checked the permit, and there were no conditions that would prevent them from doing this, so they're good to go.
And we're not changing lot 2 or 3, we're just creating a
Just
separate
adding
parcel.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the parcels could be swapped anywhere,
Gotcha.
it could never happen, actually.
Oh, they're keeping their own name?
I don't know what they intend to, how they
Oh, if
intend
they're
to
gonna
convey it
combine
at
them.
all. So, but I'm assuming that these people, whether it's financial or whatever.
So you're just
reasonable,
you're just adding this line?
Exactly, so
Yeah.
so this hatched area
Yep.
here,
Yep,
that would
Got
be
it.
parcel A.
got it. Yeah, okay, no issues.
Make a motion to approve the A&R for, is it 90 Annymore Road? Based on the plan dated January 3rd, 2019?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt.
Oh, do we have to, we gotta sign this?
Yeah. Do you want-
I can pick it up from you later, whatever.
Whatever works.
Yeah, I'm here, so if you guys don't mind doing it quick.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Oh, is there an appeal period or?
No, it was A&R.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And you have pens, I brought one just in case.
Seth, are there 2 hard copies there? Hopefully I didn't check.
There's one, I can give you the one I have with me too.
That would be great, because I'd like to give one to the voters.
And I'll email you a signed copy
Sure,
too.
that would be
Just 2?
This one's the same actually.
You want me to sign it too?
Yeah, that'd be great.
The signing dance.
I'll leave you the papers.
Yep, that would be good.
Gentlemen?
Anything else, Mike?
Yep.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yeah.
No problem. Talk to you in the morning.
All right, next up, we got Robert Pace, Keys Farm.
Hi.
What happened since the last time we talked to you? A lot of rain.
Snow, rain,
Yeah.
a lot of work.
All the temperatures.
So Erica, maybe you want to give like a quick summary of sort of where we stand on the cease and desist and what's going on with that?
So we're, they've done a lot of work up there since we've issued the cease and desist back in January. Since then, they've continued to build two stormwater areas. If you remember correctly, there's 3 different basins on site. They've built the 2, basically, closest to the road. And then they've also fixed the erosion control lines. They've put in some straw wattle check dams within the wetland resource areas before it actually leaves the site. And then today we were out there and they were doing some type of diversion to make sure that runoff from the road was actually getting into the second basin.
The runoff from which road,
The proposed.
oh, okay.
The proposed, because right now there's no curbing, there's no,
Yeah.
the catch basins are in, but nothing's getting to them. So to actually get it to that basin, they had to create some type of diversion to
Sure.
get into the basin. So, and right now, and there's more work to be done on the basins, but they're functioning as they need to right now. They're essentially acting as, temporary sediment basins. They have outlet control structures, the berms are in, they're holding the necessary volume. And Fred Hamway's reviewed them and he sent an email, it's in your packet.
So is the cease and desist still in place?
The planning board it is, because I knew that you guys were gonna be meeting tonight, so I figured that could be a discussion that you have with Bob.
Yep.
As far as conservation goes, they've issued a letter today removing their cease and desist from the property.
Okay.
There is additional remediation work that needs to be done associated with Concom. There was sedimentation that occurred in the wetland and further down into Danforth Brook. So they're gonna continue to get that sediment out. So
Okay.
that's gonna be an ongoing process.
That's an ongoing process.
Yeah, because right now they can't really do a lot of it because of the weather.
It's frozen.
So, yeah.
And so Concom lifted it even despite it not being cleaned up?
Right, but they're watching it closely, and Concom has basically said, you need to stay in compliance. If you go out of compliance in any way, we're gonna slap the cease and desist back on the property.
So, the management area one, which was the most critical is now
That was
done?
the most critical, and that's what they've been working, I would say, most on. And that's where we had the incident. It was bypassing that basin and the erosion control line.
And just go a little further, okay, the degree of completion of lot pond one is about the same completion as lot two. We're moving to pond three right now.
That is correct, yeah. So
When
we
do you
haven't brought in.
anticipate having possibly done?
About 2 weeks.
Where's Pond 3 exactly?
The end of the, towards the end of the cul-de-sac.
Was that a contributing factor for this?
It's completely surrounded by a wooded area, and that really had very little to do with what was occurring in January.
Did the specialists give their, list of things that needed to be done? Is that what this is here?
So Fish and Wildlife, we did a site visit with Fish and Wildlife. They had taken a look at Danforth Brook. They basically were amenable to, I think, the approach that Ducharme and Dillis had come up with to do the remediation work. So from the state level, they were happy. Conservation, I think, is pretty happy with how they're gonna do the remediation, and that should be, I think part of that plan is in your packet from Ducharme and Dillis.
Stormwater expert, you have anything to add?
Um,
I've asked all the questions I know to ask.
And you guys weren't obviously at the Concom meeting, but, they understood that within a half hour of getting a phone call, we were on site. They appreciated that as well. Okay, and silt fence never failed, it actually got undermined. Okay, just with the volume of the water, so now the stormwater is built. Okay, we had, significant, a couple significant rains, and we had a couple, we had today, last night, and melt today. It functions well.
It's been functioning since the 24th when everything was installed.
Pardon me?
The 24th, I think it said,
Yeah.
was when. No, Fred's noted that the two basins now are functioning as temporary sediment basins. The main thing will be is as you finish up construction, is making sure any of that sediment that's in there gets cleaned out, so then they can actually
We're well aware
function
of that.
as proper basins.
And Concom is monitoring that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was discussed again at
Okay.
today's site. I don't know, Bob, if you were there, but surely with
Yeah.
Brandon, we said we have to be on top of the sediment
We,
Yeah, that's the
Just-
key thing.
Yeah.
just a few warm days we had, we bucketed stuff out of there too.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've been diligent.
Watching it, okay.
So based on what they've done on the site and the corrective action that they needed to take, I feel comfortable if the board wanted to lift the cease and desist at this point. So.
Jonathan Keith, 7052 Main Street. I'm just wondering, what is the plan for removing the sediment? Like, what is the process for removing the sediment?
In the
From
basins or?
Danforth
Oh, from
Brook.
Danforth.
So you talked about sedimentary deposits.
I think it says it needs to be removed with hand tools. It cannot be with any excavator or large machinery. It needs to, I was reading it somewhere.
Yeah, so I know, like, you were talking about the removal from the wetland area today, and they were talking about raking it, taking, doing hand tools. Basically, they'd have to leave the leaf litter that's there, trying to maintain that, but then getting the finer sediment that's sort of laying
Is
on
it
top of it.
up to leave an inch or two? Leave that and then take everything above that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what, you take it out by wheelbarrow, what's?
Buckets.
5 gallon
Buckets and wheelbarrows.
plastic buckets.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were here, James.
Yeah, we're walking on planks. and-
Final construction.
Yeah, we're walking on planks, doing it with buckets and wheelbarrows.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no heavy machinery like that.
Nothing.
allowed.
The only thing you do if you had machinery in there, you create more erosion.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
And then I believe you're supposed to have a wetland specialist on site as you're doing that work to confirm that you're doing it
Yeah,
correctly.
Brandon was out there last week while we were
Yeah,
doing
so
it.
I just
Yeah.
to confirm, to
Yeah.
kind of.
So it's documented,
Yeah.
monitored.
And those,
And,
and the
uh,
reports need to be submitted to Concom
Right.
as they're doing it.
Is there a time frame? Like
There's no
spring thaw?
specific timeframe.
We need to wait until the weather breaks a little
Yeah,
bit,
I
'cause
understand
everything's
that.
frozen. We got
Oh,
a
yeah, yeah.
majority, like 90% out, but, it just
Frozen.
freezes up and we get a little bit more.
I'm
work
just
to
thinking,
do.
like, so if it gets to, say, May, and it's, it's kind of up to the Concom to determine that, they could be doing the work, and it's,
What killed us is we had the freezing weather and then
Then I thought-
we had that 60 degree day in that rain and everything just went down that hill and just crushed us.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I defer to the Concom.
yeah, and they may wanna wait until a little later in the summer to let the wetlands dry a little bit before working in them.
Well, we would
So,
think,
but
we would think-
that's for you guys to work out with Concom.
yeah,
think
we
we're
would
thinking
think by
April.
June,
yeah.
okay, the project would be complete anyway. We'll go get this to work, we'll be shut.
And they've done some of the removal actually already, right beyond the basin, where it was most heavily deposited. They did do some work
We
there.
also added some wattles there that,
Some additional.
Right,
erosion
exactly.
They doubled up on
And-
their
and-
erosion control.
and, it's interesting because there was 3 lines of silt fence / wattles, okay, and.
Before this happened, we tripled it up.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
and,
just went
and
through it.
and it just, it actually didn't go through, it went under.
Under
It's
the silt
good.
fence, and you're burying the silt fence at least 6 inches
Yeah,
down and
yeah.
everything.
It's just so rocky over there that it just went right
It's
through
gone
and
through.
through the rocks and came out. It was bubbling out like 4 inches away from the silt fence.
So the silt fence was intact, it just in extreme condition.
It was also bypassing the basin at the time, so what
Right.
they've done, one of the first things that they did
Now you
was
have a
put up a
diversion.
diversion barrier
Right.
towards the entrance of the road. So that's helped a lot. You can actually see it being diverted into the
Yeah, you
basin
can go
because
up
of
there
it.
today, we
That's-
saw
yeah,
it.
Doing it.
That's good.
Any other comments? Fred?
You have my email, or
Yep.
I mentioned that I talked, before I wrote it, or that time I was writing, I talked to Jamie. The one thing that still should be done, and not, I don't think it's done yet, is that sediment basin is allowing water out through the outlet structure and pipe. So to put riprap at the end
Oh,
of the 2 outlet pipes.
We put stone there.
Okay.
Yeah, we
And
put
talked about it
3/4 just so it'll be tight, so it'll catch the silt instead of something heavy.
Which
Yeah.
basin was that, Fred?
Both
Both.
of them, 1 inch out.
Okay.
Just,
When did you
it's
do
almost
that,
a
today?
temporary.
We did that the other day.
Oh, I didn't know, I actually didn't, okay, I'll have to look at
It
that.
might have been Monday or Tuesday maybe. The day that you guys are supposed to come out.
We didn't talk to, when's my, mine
It's
is written
dated
yesterday?
the 12th, Tuesday.
I'm gonna talk to you Tuesday morning.
So
But this was
Tuesday-
eight- yeah,
so
8:15.
Tuesday, we did it after that.
Yep,
Okay. I'm sorry, can you tell me what size stone you use?
3/4.
3/4? Okay.
Just so it's a little bit more tighter, catches more of the silt.
Okay,
I mean, riprap would just slow it down, it's not gonna catch the silt.
yeah.
So then you good with that, Fred?
Yes.
So are you seeing out of that pipe any of the silt coming out?
No, there's no silt coming out of the
Okay,
outlet
alright.
structure anymore, nope.
All
They've
right,
got a
that's-
decent sump below the outlet
that- okay.
orifice.
Because you really should be looking at that, and there really shouldn't be any silt that's
No.
coming out of it. You
There's no
want-
silt at
You
all.
want it all staying in that basin.
You can take a ride by,
Okay,
you
okay.
can see it's sunshine.
It's more as preventive.
No, and I
Okay,
agree, you should definitely have the riprap at the end
It's
of the
going,
pipes.
what it's
for-
still eroded.
Yeah, yeah,
It wasn't so much the silt, but the erosion down the,
Okay.
on the other pipe.
yeah, no,
I
that
mean, I
makes
know
sense.
today it was running, cleaning it. like-
It was, right, okay, okay.
Okay. Well, it was good. I mean, do we need a vote for that,
I
or?
think we do need to, yeah.
Because you could have just looked at it yourself, right?
I could have, but I think in this, it's more appropriate if the board votes. I mean, I issued it because
Yeah, that's fine.
time is of the essence and things like that happen, so.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to lift the cease and desist issued January 24th for Keys Farm.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
I'll write a letter tomorrow, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So also,
Well, what about working? Bob?
No, there's more, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
so we're supposed to review the bond and consider lot releases from the covenant.
Correct.
Thank you.
So is this, so, what do you want to do first, bond? There's a covenant.
The bond should be reviewed first, because the bond technically needs to be executed before I can give him the lot release form. So, I've had town council review both of these and they had no comment.
So we already went over this number last time.
We already went over the number, but at the previous meeting, Bob had talked about posting cash bond. They've changed their approach now, so this is gonna be through a bonding company. That's why I'm having the board relook at it.
If you remember, we were gonna do a lot at a time, we just said we do the whole thing.
So,
I think that's.
procedurally, can
It's
you?
the same thing as Tagmore.
Huh?
Tagmore's,
Yeah.
I just, for example,
Okay.
Tagmore's doing it the same way.
Okay.
And the bonding companies, they hand over insurance for.
So then, so do we still release lots as we go then, or do we
No,
not? Yeah.
they get all released all at once, because the
Okay.
full amount's being
Bonded.
posted,
Okay.
bonded, yeah.
Okay, so we don't have to go through what we do with Century Mill?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. So this is the 1.5, the 681?
Yes, that was the number that we agreed on at the last meeting.
Okay. Town council
they-
agrees and,
Town council agreed, and just a little more background information on some of the things that we talked about at the last meeting. They had the fire cistern tested this week, and it passed. You should have an email from the
Yep.
fire
Yeah, I saw
department.
that, yep.
And then Bob submitted that letter regarding the liability for the fact that the binder's not down, the fire department, so that's in the packet.
Oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
It's
Yep,
actually
yep.
just an email, but it's in there.
Yep.
what was
And
that, Eric, sorry? That was-
In case, because binder's not down,
Yeah.
and if there's an emergency, they'll be liable for getting the emergency vehicles out.
It was under the fire department had asked.
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
They had asked for that.
Yeah.
Is that in here?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
in,
it's
it's
just
kind
part
of
of it.
buried
It's
in
an
an
email.
email, yeah.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
I just saw it.
Yeah. There you go.
And then just a little more background information regarding the lot releases. So in the subdivision approval and the decision, I went through the conditions, and Bob and I had met last week and kind of went through them together. So there were some outstanding things that Bob's working towards. before he can get the building permits, and many of them he's accomplished. So I needed the money for Fred Hamling, he submitted that. He needed to order the trailhead signs, and he's done that. I have an email indicating that. And then once the board votes to do the lot release, he will submit the $15,000 as the donation towards the pedestrian mobility fund. I think that's
I just didn't want to tie anybody more money if there was gonna be a problem tonight. So I'll bring that down.
But the lot release doesn't give them the building permits until the binder is done, right?
So at the last meeting, the board agreed to give 2 building permits.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
2 building permits and as many,
The foundation permit.
Foundation, yeah, yeah.
But the binder needs to be in by May 1st.
Yeah,
April 15th.
Well, you can start April
Yeah.
15th, but
Yeah.
I think we gave you
Okay,
a deadline
yeah.
of May 1st.
yeah, we gave you a little latitude for the
You're so
monsoon
nice to
season.
me.
Yeah, don't get used to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion for the bond?
Go for it. I've been making all the motions tonight.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, so. So move that we accept the subdivision performance bond for Keys Farm for $681,015.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, covenant? Is there anything we should know about this, Erica, or just standard?
It's pretty standard language, let me take a quick look at it again.
The lawyer went through this one.
Town council did go through it. The bond, I guess my only question to you, Bob, is this bond has an effective date for like basically a year, and then after that, it basically renews itself until the board.
I don't know, okay, what it does, but certainly.
That's the way that this reads.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, that's the way that the bond reads.
We would hope to have the whole top coat and everything else down, but, okay, and we'll obviously be coming back in, I would say May, okay, but I think everything will be in with the top coat anyway,
Okay.
so, that's our intention.
okay, anything else? I'll move that we, I guess, what do we need to do? Accept the subdivision performance agreement secured by surety bond and release covenant for the lots at Keys Farm.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, done.
Last question. See, I always,
No Saturdays.
no, I'm not asking for a Saturday. But
No
you
Sundays.
But you
No.
damn close. Okay. Is Monday a holiday?
Yes.
We're working on the stormwater, which was under cease and desist. I guess I would ask for special dispensation to work on Monday.
The board can't technically because it's written in the decision that you can't work
Well, I'm
holidays.
asking the board for,
No, my point is that would be like an amended, that would be an amended condition.
well, no, just this Monday, okay, like.
So we have latitude on
We
Saturdays.
have latitude on Saturdays, we don't have latitude on holidays, is my point,
Yeah.
but the board doesn't. That's my understanding.
Yeah, it says no, there's no waiver. I mean, it specifically says on Saturday that we could, right?
We can add our discretion where, or something like that.
So I guess I'm asking at your discretion, can you do this Monday, because I'm trying to get this pond built.
I don't think we have the ability to grant it,
Yeah. Do we?
is what.
Let me, I have the, actually, I have the decision right here, let me reread it.
See? You never know what I'm gonna ask. I don't even know what I'm gonna ask.
How's the haunted house going?
We stopped because we're on a cease and desist.
It's true. How was it going before that?
It's good, I was testing you.
How do you expect it to go?
No, okay, for real, I asked that specific question, I was told, don't work.
Yeah, okay.
But
Yeah, I mean, Bob,
everybody
I
is
don't,
referring to it as the haunted house.
Huh?
I don't,
Everybody is referring to it.
I don't really see any latitude in this condition. It says construction activities shall be conducted Monday through Friday between the hours of 7 AM and 5 PM, and on Saturdays only at the prior approval of the board at its sole discretion. Construction activities shall not occur on Sundays or on federal holidays.
Well, done and done.
He's the one that asked.
Okay.
Nothing we
Can't do it
can
if you
do.
don't swing.
We locked ourselves out.
Can't do it if you don't swing.
Huh? Yeah.
Can't do it if you don't swing.
Anything else, Steve?
Great.
Thank you very much.
Good
night.
So Bob, I don't know if you want the hard copy or if you want Caleb or to print a copy, it doesn't really matter, but this just needs to get filled out and signed by
Okay.
David and the insurance company.
Okay.
And then I need a copy back.
Take them right back.
Once I have this here, then we can
Release.
Is that, is it?
yes, get this to you, which you need to record, and then once I have it, we can start talking about building permits. Well, and then $50,000.
Yeah, I was curious. Well, this, I think this was their meeting when they had.
Why do we have this? What, this is zoning board of appeals?
Oh, shoot, that was an oversight by me, I can't believe I did that. Yeah, that was
Why?
just to say planning board.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was just confused.
I'll update that.
Oh,
Right information, wrong header.
What's that?
Right information, wrong header.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that it? Update regarding Bolton's housing production plan. So the committee has met twice. It's a great group of people. Roy, who was here before, Mark O'Hagan, Penny Gherkin, Brian Boyle, Glenn, Herb Cabral, and Eileen.
Hey, Fred.
So far, we've gone over, kind of created an outline based on what we've had in the past and what a bunch of other towns did. And kind of went over a bunch of other towns' production plans and kind of talked about what would be best from different ones. And we all reviewed different plans, and we all have like different sections to look at now.
How long are they on average, the other towns' plans?
Well, so I looked at Carlisle's and it's like 90 pages long. Like 50 pages of it is like demographics and what we said at the last meeting is we want to get to the meat of it faster.
Yeah.
Because it's like a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
And it looks like a lot of fluff taken from, it's kind of copied from,
Other
yeah, and it's like they keep on adding fluff and
And dust bunny that just keeps
and
growing.
it's like, so the document gets bigger every time a new town does it, so we talked about kind of paring some of them back, some of that back, but I think it's been pretty productive, Erica. You know, what we
Yeah.
talked about going through, you know, we kind of just still kind of getting a direction of what we want to do and trying to determine who's doing the demographics, who's doing, studying our current inventory, who's, you know, looking at different, so somebody's looking at the different goals the town set. Erica and I were gonna look at strategies from, you know, moving forward. Kinda, so it's more of a planning thing for the future. Looking at what different towns did, trying to get different ideas, to see what we would adopt or not, so it's been pretty good. It's definitely, everybody seems highly motivated.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. And then who knows, maybe we'll get assistance from MAPC.
Right.
So,
Does this have to go to town meeting to be approved?
it does not, it just needs to go before board of selectmen to be adopted.
Yeah.
And then to DCD for final approval.
I mean, being there, it seems like there's a ton of work. It's gonna take a long time.
It's gonna be.
We've had 2 meetings. and
I
we're-
think that was always anticipated.
That was
It was
always
gonna
the-
take at least a
yeah.
year.
Yeah, we've had 2 meetings and it's just pretty much been kind of mapping out initially the path we're gonna take.
Right.
Yeah.
like not even actually getting any real work
Right,
done.
and that
just-
path may change
Yeah.
once we get to the
Yeah.
nitty-gritty.
Yeah, and then we talked
So-
about like forums, charrettes, surveys, you know,
Yeah.
different things we,
Focus
you know,
groups.
focus groups, you know. Because our strategy moving forward, we want the town to be on board, so if we recommend, you know, some type of development, we want the town to be on board with it. So when if it comes to the planning board and we adopt that, it doesn't get voted down after all the work, so. But, yeah, so really it's just been kind of setting a direction.
Yeah, and I put a copy of our template in there so you can kind of see where we're at.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
The sections we're including and.
Yep. Yeah, so this is just, yeah, so Brian Boyle is gonna be the keeper of the document.
Yeah, he's gonna be the overall writer.
We did that because we all like reviewed a different town's document. You could see like it was this person wrote this one, and then it's like completely different formatted in a different section. It just makes it really confusing.
Yeah.
All these different appendices, and it's just tough to read, you know? And so we just wanted a better flow. So this is based off of Berlin's
Yeah,
housing production plan, and he stripped it down.
Are you guys gonna talk to someone from the other towns that wrote those to see?
we talked about that at the
Yeah.
first meeting, so
Yeah.
I think eventually, yeah.
Yeah, we should bring some.
Because you submit the document to whoever,
The state.
the state,
Yeah.
and then because this says whether or not, like it would block us from 40B type stuff, right?
Right, so in order
it
to
has
get to that
be-
point, it has to be not only adopted by DHCD, but then they have to certify it, and to become certified, you have to increase your housing stock by either 0.5% or 1% within a year.
Yeah.
So it's
Just to get the document certified?
just to get certified, and then that
Oh,
lasts, if
I
it's a
didn't know.
0.5%, you can turn down a 40B.
Well, I
for
knew
an
you could
entire
do
year.
that for 0.5%, but I didn't realize just to get the
One-
document certified, it was kind of like an ante.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to actually show that you're producing 0.5% or producing the
Just
1% gets you a 2-year.
Just so they don't know it's a stack of paper, so you actually are.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working towards it.
Couple of quick questions. What was the name of who approves it at the state level?
It's the Department of Community Housing, Department of Housing and Community Development.
Got it.
Sorry.
Good
I always
job.
have to think about the
I put you
acronym.
right on the spot for that one. Housing and Community Development. Okay, awesome. And do we know what the number is to reach that 0.5% per
We
year?
do,
How many
yes.
units?
No.
Let me go grab the number. I think it's not, you're right, it's 9 and
Because
then
it's like 100, we need 180 units, so
it's like 9 and 17 or something.
180 puts us at, I'm sorry, I didn't.
10%.
10%.
Is that the 10?
Put it in the
Okay.
safe harbor, in the safe harbor. so.
currently, yeah.
Yeah, currently, and that's, right, exactly, that
Yeah.
doesn't include the 2020 census, so once
Yeah.
that comes out, that could change. So that's something we're gonna be looking at with the housing production plan, is projecting where we're gonna need to be too.
Well, we also talked about, should we use the 2010 census numbers, or do we combine those numbers with like the local, like,
It's population, I thought it was based on number of housing.
no, that is number of houses.
Number of housing.
Okay.
Yeah.
1,800 houses is what we have.
1792
Or
or
seven-
something like that, yeah.
As of now, or
As of
2010?
now. No, as of 2010. But we go based on, that's how.
Is that
the housing production
2010?
plan- Yeah, it's 2010.
So now that we're at 2019, I mean, we're gonna have to go back. If we leak into 2020.
Well, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
if we don't get it submitted to DHCD within, they're probably gonna push back and say, why don't you wait for the new census data to come out, so. I don't know.
Which will probably look even worse.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot more
houses,
development
yeah.
of
Houses, yeah.
houses versus development in 40Bs.
I mean, I think it behooves us to get it
How
in
many
this
houses,
year
do you know how many houses we are at right now?
currently?
As of date?
Not off the top of my head, no.
We're at 2,000?
I don't know.
It can't be that high.
200 since 10,
I mean, basically, we could, I can figure that out very easily. I have a number of building permits issued per year for new structures.
Oh, yeah, that you added
New
for
dwellings, and I'll
But-
just keep adding.
But
them.
we did talk about getting the local census info.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's something we can include in the document or not, but,
Mhm.
or if it's not bad, if they just want the federal census info.
No, you can use other data than the census data, the federal.
Because actually, I reviewed Carlisle's and it did have the 2010 plus local
Yeah, that makes
local
sense.
data.
Yeah.
So we should probably do that just to make it most accurate, so we know what we're really dealing with.
Well, when we talk about the projections too, I mean, we want to be pretty accurate, so.
Right, exactly.
I should probably say here that I really appreciate the amount of time you guys are spending to review it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really important document for our town to have.
Yeah, I mean, sitting through those first two meetings, I knew it was gonna be a lot of work, but just talking about all the details, it's a lot of work. Even for 7 people, it's a lot of work. Because we all have a section now, but even our sections are
Yeah.
a lot of work.
In addition to everything else.
Right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I had a question parlaying that compliment, which I was sincere though, I really do appreciate it.
So you was mentioning it's a lot of work, but.
Well, no, but I'm wondering if you've considered the master plan at all and whether or not some of the work done there can also be inserted into your document so that you're not repeating work in census data and all
Well,
that.
actually, at the last meeting, we talked about, Brian Boyle brought up,
I think it was Harvard's plan.
well, he brought up revenue.
Oh,
And, well, he brought up revenue, and then we said, well, we really want to focus on the housing plan. And the housing plan will be part of the master plan, but we don't want part of the master plan to leak into this housing plan, is kind of what
I
we were
think the
saying.
planning boards, your direction for the last year, the board's basically been saying, let's update the housing production plan
Yeah,
first,
right.
get that data in place.
then update
And then
the
use
master
that
plan.
to as part of the update for
Yeah.
the master plan, we'll have it.
But what Mark Hokagan was saying is that we don't necessarily, reasons for this housing production plan, you don't want to get into like taxes and revenue and, well, we should do this housing production plan.
It should be, it shouldn't be driven by,
a mass-
like being
some
able to
over-
reduce taxes, that
Right.
should be the driving force.
Right, because then when there could be arguments against that and different things, but we didn't wanna like, go outside our lane, I guess. We really wanted to focus on the housing. So I don't know if that answers what you were asking.
Yeah, no, I think so. And to your point about not going out of your lane, then I guess my question would be has your board considered at all, for next year's bylaws, a type of bylaw that might encourage developers to want to go towards this type of development in a responsible way? To bring, something that incentivizes them to bring in that kind of housing, but in a way that is what the town wants it to come in as, if you will.
Well, we tried to pass the cottage
Last
overlay
year, yeah.
last
Yeah,
year.
we were
ago.
to town meeting
And,
last
and
year.
there was some discussion about modifying it and trying to tweak it to address the concerns, and we actually shelved it because we wanted to get the housing plan done,
Mhm.
to kind
Makes
of
sense.
know what direction we
Yeah.
want the bylaws to go.
Yeah.
So.
And I think if you
that-
emphasize
that-
it,
that is the plan, is that once we have the housing plan, that will be the basis for for
Writing
some bylaws
bylaws.
to try to encourage the development that's identified there.
Because the general feel we got from town meeting was, first of all, the group who at least asked questions didn't like it, but they would always say something like, well, you don't even know why you need this, or why you're doing it, or you don't even know, like, why,
Right,
is
right.
it just, it's just
Yeah.
you guys doing this, there's no desire for it or something, so get in the housing production plan, and whatever work that committee does with, surveys or forums and, demographics, and
Yep.
that will be the backbone to whatever the planning board does moving forward.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say, is I don't think, I'll speak for myself, I didn't understand at town meeting, what the vulnerability our town has in terms of 40B development, and how a bylaw like that can assist in helping us to get out from underneath that law, as it stands right now, and the control of it. So, anyway, I just
Yeah.
was wondering.
Well, there's no bylaw that can get us out from underneath it. It is the
No, no.
production plan, and it is having more
Right,
affordable
but it
units.
But
may
bylaws to,
encourage development in the
yeah.
direction to get us out from
Like,
underneath
for instance,
that.
we could have a apartment bylaw, that says we want to develop a 100-unit apartment building or something, And so if we just brought that forward, you know, without really giving reasons why, then people might vote it down. But if we brought it forward saying that this is all part of the overall production plan to get to whatever percentage and to,
Well, I
you know,
think
to
it's a
get
big
developments
lever.
where we wanna, you know, so the production plan will be the framework for whatever the planning board does moving forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because density is a scary thing in this town.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I think if there's a well-justified reason for the density, like, it's gonna go in no matter where you want it, if you don't choose
Yeah.
what to incentivize it to go in certain places,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That people will understand.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Anything else?
minutes, there's one from December 12th.
Yep,
I have no issues with it.
I'm good.
Motion to accept it.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from December 12th, 2018.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Want me to
Just sign this one, Erica, that we have.
That's fine, yeah.
make a motion to close the hearing? Or did you
Meeting
have?
adjourn.
Sorry, adjourn. Oh, sorry, we had closing.
I missed something.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What time is it, just?
9:03.